Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. Please like and subscribe as always. I appreciate all of the views, the comments, everything else. And I actually enjoy doing the weekend stuff because it's just literally me going over stuff that I've seen over the weekend, stuff that I've been involved in, and I don't really have to really formulate any thought outside of my primary instincts of what took place. So there's been boxing since Thursday night. I won't go into the Thursday night stuff though, because I'm pretty sure no one has watched that. But if we start from Friday, so I was at the Queensbury show that was taking place at York Hall. Shout out to Matt, who basically sorted out my accreditations to go there to just check out the show. Basically, wants to open things up and see more of the inner workings. I remember he said to me, it does sort of come across sometimes that we're very much us against everyone else type place, but that's not the situation. And yeah, I enjoyed, sort of what I was there, the people I saw, the people I spoke to, and just the interactions that I had. Also, got to give a big shout out to Dev Sani as well. I know I've had my banter with him online and offline, and I've maybe thrown a few sly disses his way in the past. Nothing too crazy, although there were things that I said previously which I had to stop saying just in case they were a bit over the top. But Dev's a good guy. Ultimately, I told him that, look, they're not trying to give me accreditation, they're not trying to have me at these shows. He said, hit me up and I'll try and help you get that. And he was a man of his word, he did. And again, from everyone who saw Dev on the Undefeated podcast when he came on, basically had to take the smoke for being the Tyson Fury cheerleader and, all things Queensbury and that Queensbury mascot. He came on, he didn't run, didn't hide. Most other people are very scared to come on there, especially when they know that they're literally just fanboying a particular person or organization. But he came in, held his ground, did his thing. And then again, seeing him in person it's not the first time I've seen him, but it's the first time I actually spoke to him in person. So big up to Dev, big up to Matt, and I will definitely be back at future shows, especially when there are fighters that I take an interest in. So speaking quickly on the actual show itself, so I got there around about 8 o'clock. I didn't see a lot of the undercard fights. There's only 2 fights I actually got to watch live. First one was Ezra the Cannon Taylor versus Khalid Gaeda, I think the surname was. And that fight was actually a great fight. Ezra Taylor was 5-0 at the time, now 6-0. And the fight itself, it was very hard fought. It was a very competitive fight in terms of, just the rounds. Ezra's got great movement, great upper body and lateral movement as well. Sort of great footwork. Punch selection is good as well. He doesn't sort of load up on stuff. He kind of, keeps everything flowing, keeps everything fluid. So yeah, got a big up to him. I actually did an interview with him. It was probably one of the best interviews that I've done, which is part of the reason why I didn't actually see some of the other undercard. I was upstairs sort of doing interviews, but unfortunately, the interview itself will never be seen by anyone because the batteries on my microphone died just as I was about to start it. I didn't notice. So once I'd done the interview, I realized that the receiver's there, but unfortunately the mic is not picking up anything because the batteries collapsed inside. So yeah, unfortunately that'll just have to be sort of between me, him and his team who were there. But I've got their details. I've obviously already let them know, but I'm just letting everyone else know. So big apologies for that basically happening. I will be doing future stuff with him and the team. We are working that out as a conversation, and definitely he's someone that I'm taking a keen interest in moving forward with his career, because I like like what I see, and the talent is there. And just a little bit of insight, you've probably seen it in others, but he's definitely got smoke for Ben Whittaker. And that, I think, is a very sort of tasty grudge match to take place in the near future. I saw the main event, David Adelaide against Armatovic. I can't remember his first name. Still don't remember it. Still don't particularly care. I wasn't really impressed in David's performance in this fight, if I'm honest. I've seen him perform a lot better than this. Normally when he's on the front foot, he is much more composed, better punch selection. He's very athletic, very quick. For his size and his build, he's in incredible shape, as you guys probably no doubt could see. Very, very strong, very sturdy, and he's going to take some beating to bully around. But he was almost on the back foot for a lot of this fight, eyes wide open, and there was a lot of like hitting and hugging. It felt anytime Armatovic got anywhere near to him, he would embrace a clinch, and I'm not gonna lie, it felt very Okoli-esque. And yeah, to me, it wasn't particularly enjoyable to watch. Like I said, I've seen him perform a lot better, so I don't think this is him naturally. But yeah, there was something about this performance I wasn't impressed with. So I'm hoping that he does a lot better moving forward. But for all intents and purposes, I do believe he will be mandated for that British heavyweight title next. So hopefully that will inspire some confidence. He'll go back into the lab, start cooking again, and obviously take that shot as and when it gets presented. Moving on, I didn't watch the Adrian Broner versus Bill Hutchison fight. I saw brief highlights on Instagram. That was pretty much enough for me, so we can go straight to the Matchroom card. And speaking of, obviously we're talking about Adelaide, I did actually run into Fabio Wardley while I was there. He wasn't doing any sort of media on the day. He just wanted to kind of stay low key, which was fine. But we exchanged some communications, and he will be appearing on my breakdown show on the Undisputed podcast at some point in the next month or so. We just got to work out the particulars, so we're in communication about that. So all good. I got to the event extra early. Obviously, I got my accreditations. So shout out to Dan, obviously, for sorting that out for me. And got there at the start of the show, or went specifically to watch the Shannon Ryan Matchroom debut against Benile. I can't remember her first name. Apologies again. However, it wasn't really important to realise her first name, because Shannon pretty much dominated, put on a punch perfect performance almost, and it seems like everything that I spoke to her about on the Undefeated podcast channel back in February 14th actually, where she was saying that, you know, she was going to work on maybe just slowing down some of her movements, because she is so quick that she can take extra time to sort of set things up rather than sort of flurry and roll out her shots. She pretty much did everything she said that she was looking to do. It was a punch perfect performance, and the fact that there was no sort of KO or stoppage or even sort of dropping of the opponent on this particular occasion didn't actually matter, because I guess Benile, her nickname is the little tank, and yeah, you can kind of see that basically she's a person, she kind of just chugs forward, constant pressure, and she's very tough and very game, hence why I can tell that's the reason she's European champion at flyweight. But yeah, Shannon just naturally just bigger, stronger, better, quicker, better punch variety, great feet, great movement. And obviously because Shannon comes from that kickboxing, you know, taekwondo background, you can see that she's just got strong, thick set legs, like sort of glutes. So everything, whenever she puts her effort into the body punching and to those head punches, these girls feel it. So even though Benili kept moving forward, you can tell that she wasn't keen to take any of those flush. I actually thought the one thing I do think is that even though she started to employ a lot of good body work towards the back end of the fight, I thought if she had have implemented more body shots at the front, like rounds 1 to 3, instead of sort of head hunting, I definitely think those arms would have dropped, and she probably could have actually forced a stoppage around about round 5 or 6. Because when she started digging to the body around about sort of rounds 5, 6, 7, Benile was, you know, she started to wilt. So yeah, I feel like that maybe might be a good tactic for her moving forward, to sort of invest in the body early, leave the head till later, and see where we go. But I definitely think the performance that she put on last night, had that have been any of her previous 4 performances, I feel that she would have at least got 50% of the knockouts in those last 4 fights. So she's going from strength to strength now with Matchroom, now on a platform that's actually putting her fights out on YouTube as well afterwards. I've seen some of the reactions from people from the fight thus far, and it's looking positive. So see where she goes from here. Yusuf Kamari against Reece Bellotti was the next one that I pretty much took stock in. Obviously, Muhammad Ali, he had a really good performance. David Liddard, I think it's David Liddard. His performance, first round KO, not much to talk about, but you know, they both pretty much they both impressed. But yeah, Bellotti and Kamari. Now, this was a fight that I couldn't really put a bet on. I was thinking about how this fight would play out, and the one thing that I kept looking at was that Kamari is a pretty decent operator, but Bellotti's got the experience, and he's also definitely got the punch power out of the two, which means that Kamari can't, it's almost like he can't rest on his laurels or stay in the pocket too much. And unfortunately, he's stuck on the ropes way too much in the fight. I was talking with some of the other guys that I was there with, and a lot of time I was just basically saying, I think he's losing these rounds. He's getting off the cleaner work, a lot of clean work, but unfortunately, he's on the ropes. He's getting put onto the ropes. It's a bad optic, and he's getting outworked while he's on the ropes. Even if shots aren't landing clean or landing heavy, they're looking like they're having huge effects, and it looks like you're just being pushed around the ring and dominated. So I felt he was in trouble just based on activity. And I said to I remember I saw Tony from Undefeated when I was there. I said, I think I've got a suspicion he's probably lost this fight 96, 94 to maybe 97, 93 just due to activity, like not being active enough. And lo and behold, I believe it was 2 97, 93s and 1 96, 94 scorecard. So unfortunately, I don't know what Yusuf does next, back to the drawing board, but I hope to get him. I think Tony is looking to get him on the show at some point as well, so maybe we can talk through that and see what his next steps are and what he's planning to do moving forward. Gonna sort of breeze through the card. I basically ended up doing some press just after the before the bell, so it was for the Dalton Smith and Sam Maxwell fight that's taking place in 3 weeks in Sheffield. So I did some interviews up there, went to the little mini press conference that they had, so I ended up missing a part of the Nina Hughes fight, but I watched that. From what I saw, Chev Clark against Jameson, I watched that fight. That was probably my most entertaining fight of the night, and obviously got to big up Chev for how he came out, obviously with the that dancehall music, part of the culture. It's what I like to hear when I'm at these shows. And yeah, Chev done his thing. Like he moved well. He was a little bit cold, I think, in the first round, but as soon as he caught his rhythm, like there was absolutely no chance that Jameson was gonna survive that. And ultimately, I think it was the 5th round. Nice little combo. Started with a left hook. No, started with a straight right, sorry, which just grazed him. Came with the left hook, mixed in the uppercut, dropped after Jameson had been hurt the round before, and basically just had survived it up to the bell. And yeah, ultimately referee gave him the 8 count but waved it off, said I'm doing this for your benefit. Chev Clark now is, I think that was his 5th fight, so now 5-0, thinks 4 KOs, and that was a British cruiserweight title eliminator, so I think he will be next in line after Mikhail Lawal and Isaac Chamberlain have their particular fight. So after that, there was Ellie Scotney and Shanika Johnson. Now, everyone knows this was probably the hardest fight for me to watch personally on the night, because I am, I have sort of a personal investment in both people. Ellie lives 5 minutes down the road from me, and Shanika, I've been following her career since 2019. I just like both of them. I like her energy, I like her personality, but I obviously in basis picks I did say that I did think Ellie would be, she is naturally the bigger girl of the two, and I felt like the first few rounds would be competitive and Ellie would just sort of start to pull away just based on sort of size and effort. And long story short, that's pretty much what happened. I was speaking with a couple of the guys there. I don't know if, I'm not going to give any real names, but Ra Holcomb, I'm sure you guys know him from Twitter. So he asked me basically how I saw the fight, how I saw it being won. I said, yeah, no, Ellie's won that. From my scorecard, I had it 98-93. Initially, I was going to give it 97-93, but I felt Ellie didn't necessarily lose the ninth round for me, but neither did Shanika, so I decided to give them a split of that round. But yeah, ultimately, the cards read, I think it was one card was 98-92, and then the other, no, two cards was 98-92 and the other one was 97-93. So ultimately, yeah, I was pretty much spot on with the round scoring on that one as well. The right woman did win. I did try to get a word with both ladies after the fight, but where I was sitting, by the time I'd actually seen Shanika come out of the changing rooms again, she was she kind of disappeared somewhere, and then I didn't see her for the rest of the show. And as for Ellie is the most elusive person ever in a boxing arena on Twitter, and it's very, very hard to get a hold of her. But I did see her as she was leaving the rampway. I said to her, look, we need to talk, and she's like, don't worry, it will happen. And I've got confirmation from her that we will do something moving forward soon. So congratulations, new IBF super bantamweight champion, greatly deserved. And we'll just see what happens next. If it's unifications, voluntary defenses, we'll see. I didn't bother to watch the Johnny Fisher fight. Not anything against Johnny, but I knew what was going to happen. So I basically went upstairs to try and get some food. And at that time, I didn't actually realize that the OVO is now contactless only, and I only had cash on me, didn't have my card, didn't have my Google Pay. So yeah, I was a bit stuck. But however, the fight lasted, I guess, less than a round. I still haven't watched it now. No need to particularly watch it. I like Johnny Fisher, but I just knew it was a foregone conclusion. There's nothing for me really to discern from it. Moving on to the main event. Look, Sonny Edwards basically done what he needed to do against Andres Campos. Campos tried his hardest. He wasn't just there sort of to lay down. He did try and bring some pressure, bring some fire, but ultimately Sonny did what he did. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't try to stay in the pocket a little more rather than sort of, you know, hitting and moving and on the back foot like he usually does, making them miss and making them, I guess, get embarrassed of that. I thought he might, you know, sort of sit in the pocket, maybe even take some more shots than normal, thinking that he can take it, but just to maybe put on a statement, maybe hopefully look to see if he could press the action and press for a stoppage. And there was a couple of rounds where it looked like he was really letting his hands go, where that could have been the case. But I think he was under orders from the team after a certain point, don't take any chances. The bigger fights are coming after this one, so don't give him an opportunity to change his life. And it was what it was. Like the first 6 rounds, I think was sort of very entertaining. After the first 6, it sort of became a little bit laborious. But I've recorded most of it, so I've got that footage for when we do the breakdown. I'll speak about it more there. But you know, he done what he did. I was at the post-fight press conference. I will show you guys that footage separately. Funny enough, I asked a question, and I think both Eddie and Sonny misconstrued what I was asking until I then had to basically ask it again. They both tried to they both tried to draw me out a little bit, but I held it down. And then when I rephrased the question, I think they understood what I was getting at, and at that point I think it was cool. I didn't unfortunately get my interview. I was planning on, I had some questions for Eddie, but because of the time that I think everything finished, he literally only did one IFL interview and then had to jet straight to the car. But because I know that he's not normally like that, no hard feelings, I'll catch him on the next one. Right, I only watched the main events of both the Jaime Munguia and Derevyanchenko fight, and also the Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez fight. So, quickly, Jaime Munguia versus Sergey Derevyanchenko. I'm not going to say that Sergey Derevyanchenko was robbed, because it wasn't that clear cut, but I do think he did deserve the victory. I think, again, as always, the fact that he can get put to the ground normally is like once in a fight really cost him. I feel like he was winning that 12th round, and had he not have got knocked down, I think he actually would have won on all two of the scorecards. He would have got a draw on one of them, and he would have won the other two. But because that ended up being a 10-8, he ended up basically giving that round to Jaime Munguia, which made it 6 rounds apiece on 2 of the scorecards, plus the knockdown, so minus a point. So Jaime ended up getting a unanimous decision victory, whereas it would have been a split decision victory for Derevyanchenko had he not have dropped in that 12th round. Unfortunate. But the fight itself was an incredible fight. It's the type of fight you like to watch. All action, no backwards steps. Jaime Munguia was hurt on several occasions. He took some flush left hooks, big overhand rights, especially when he was trying to exchange as well, which doubled the impact of the punches. If you haven't seen that fight, you need to watch that fight. I'll get around to watching the undercards and stuff later on. But yeah, that was a big fight. It was probably my fight of the night in terms of entertainment, most definitely. Now, moving on to the one fight that I actually got wrong, and I think the majority of people did, was Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. I thought that Josh Taylor would get Teofimo Lopez out of there between sort of rounds. I think I said rounds 8 to 9. Primarily, I think me, just like everyone else, Teo's mindset, what he's been saying, how he's been looking recently, everything just kind of seemed off. But it's weird. I feel like Teo is almost, when he's in turmoil, is when he seems to perform the best. Because if you remember, just before the Vasily Lomachenko, we had the interview where he was talking about he wished his dad was more of a dad to him and less of a trainer, and he broke down crying and stuff. And he had that moment there, and all of a sudden he produces like his career best performance to just pip Lomachenko on points. This time he's talking about, he's low-key wanting to die and being ready to accept death in the ring and all of this stuff, but only in the ring, and the family stuff. And you're hearing all of this and you're just like, your mind is not where it needs to be. But no, he compartmentalized all of that, and he basically dog walked Josh Taylor for the majority of the fight. And I feel like the parts of it where Josh Taylor was on the front foot, the ascendancy in the first 3 rounds, and then I think Teofimo was smart in when he just sort of shoved him over and pushed him down, because as soon as he did that, it's almost like Josh thought, oh, this guy's stronger than I thought he was. He's actually more powerful than I thought he was. And ever since that moment, it's like Josh just lost his rhythm and Teo basically just took over the fight. I scored it 116-112. I gave Josh Taylor the first 3 rounds and I gave him the 10th. I've seen other people score it 115-113 where they gave him the 7th as well. I need to re-watch it to see, because I know one of the judges gave him the 6th and the other one gave him the 7th. So I need to watch those 2 rounds again to see, if there's any credibility in that. But I know Danny from Fight Fan TV also gave him the 7th round. So there might be some merit in that, but I saw those 4 rounds for him, and then basically I saw Teofimo Lopez sweep the rest. I know they were basically saying that the 115-113 scorecards on the broadcast was, they was basically just being favourable to the champion. I disagree with them. I mean, I can obviously see the 117-111 if you give the second round as a swing, but really and truly, because I gave the first 3 sort of a 116-114, 116-112, 115-113 to me isn't that out of the realm of possibility. But the right person won the fight. Like I said, it's the only one I got wrong all night, so hats off to Teofimo Lopez. I reckon now that he's actually won that fight, that may now mean that Devin Haney does stay with Top Rank for at least 1 or 2 more fights, because there is a grudge match between those two, and it will make perfect sense for him to go there, get use his super WBO status now as the undisputed and lineal champion at 135 to go up and be the instant mandatory for that belt. So yeah, it looks like the Regis Prograis fight is pretty much now out of commission, but Haney can go up there, take that one, then see if he can do the unification with Rolly Romero or O'Hara Davis or whoever's basically got that one moving forward. So look, that's pretty much the weekend is itself wrapped up. Now usually there's not other stuff that comes on a Sunday. That being said, that I will release like I said, I'm going to release my sort of footage from the post-fight press conference of Sonny Edwards. I've also got an interview I done with Chev Clark at the end of the event, but me not being the interview guy as such, I messed up yet again. I had my mic. I forgot to plug the receiver in because I was rushing. Obviously, I didn't want to keep Chev up, so you can hear some of it, but it's through the actual it's through my phone audio as opposed to the microphone, so some bits might be a little harder to hear. What I'll do is I'll put that in another video, and I'll just basically tell you the bits that you can't hear, or the bits that I don't decide to cut out. I'll just let you know basically what he said in those moments. So I'll put out the other content a little bit later on today. You will get that shortly, and yeah, keep it moving. But for right now, thank you guys very much for watching. Please, as always, like and subscribe. As I say, keep the comments coming in. Please, let's see if we can get those numbers up to 1-1, 1-2. I'd appreciate all of that. Get those watch hours up. And yeah, we'll have better and bigger content moving forward if we can get to that monetization stage. So again, thank you for watching. That's the weekend wrapped up, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.